Alrighty, and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. First item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of our previous meeting of November 1st. Unless there are changes or corrections, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the same.
So moved.
I will second that. Motion having been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Rob, the bills. Thank you, Rob. Unless there's some questions or changes, I'll entertain a motion that we approve the bills as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. I will second that. Motion having properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Dave, go ahead. There we are. Thank you, Rob. All righty. I don't.
Yeah, we don't have personnel because Marion's
not here, so I don't have any personnel issues to look at. Public comment. Is there anyone here today for public comment? I'm not seeing anyone. Old business, I have nothing. Under new business, first item on the agenda is consider approval of fiscal year 2022 Homeland Security Grant Program. Scott Vigneault. Scott.
Scott.
Yeah.
Move it a little closer so people, there you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'm here to present the State Homeland Security Emergency Grant Program for FY22. This grant program is for regional task forces. Pennsylvania has 9 regional task forces. We are in what's called the Northwest Central Emergency Response Group, or Region 3, depending on what we're dealing with. This year's grant is awarded $271,911, and that will be put towards funding of projects and programs we have going on within our task force. And the task force, of course, is Cameron, Clarion, Clearfield, Elk, Jefferson, and McKean counties. And some of the projects we have going on right now, we're continuing with our drone program. We're going to be buying some support equipment for the drone side of this. We have some communications programs going on for out along the interstate. And we're working on building 2 mass care support trailers, one on Clarion County side and one on Clearfield County side of our task force. Those are trailers we're going to build and stock with emergency medical equipment for mass incidents. And we'll have one on each side of the task force to respond as rapidly as possible. And I present this for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Questions, Dave, or anything? I'll entertain a motion that we approve the presented Homeland Security Grant Program.
So moved.
Thank you. I will second that. Motion having properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Scott, if you wait for a second here, we'll get this signed for you. Oh, you're keeping it, Lisa? Okay. All right. And Scott, just thank you, and please pass on our appreciation to the staff for, I'm sure, what they had to go through on Tuesday with the sudden dump of snow they had. So
We had a good workout.
I'm sure you did. So thank you. And
Okay.
we'll be seeing you this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll see you in a couple hours.
You got
Yeah.
a little bit?
Yep, thank you. Alrighty, item number 2, we're to consider resolution 2022 number 13, multimodal transportation application. Jody, is that something I know you have some things on the agenda. Are you here to address that? Okay. Go ahead, please, if you would. Thank you, Jody. And we appreciate the work you did on that because we kind of hit you with that awfully quick. So we know you dropped everything and applied yourself to that, and you certainly did a great job on that. So, all right, I'll entertain a motion that we approve Resolution 2022, number 13, providing that we go forward with a multimodal transportation fund grant application.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second that. Motion and properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and keeping with our theme of all things Jody Brennan, Jody, you're going to talk to us about all right, requesting application approval for a 901B recycling grant.
I just realized you should
yes.
probably go over there so that
Yeah.
anybody watching can hear you.
Absolutely.
So, as you probably know, there are several recycling grants available that the Solid Waste Authority goes after. Some of them they can apply for directly. Others, you host them, basically a pass-through grant. This is one of them. It's called a 901B grant. And basically what that's for is to help us pay for advertising of our waste and household hazardous waste collection events. The funds that we have now are going to be up next year. So we're going to apply to cover the events from fall of 23 to spring of 25. So it'll cover a 2-year period. So we're just asking for you to be the pass-through host of the grant. The Solid Waste Authority will pick up all the costs and match and administer all of it. So all you have to do is sign your name and we'll take care of everything else.
Well, those events are very popular and very good. So
Yeah, and I know as each year goes by, we get more and more phone calls from folks
Yes,
expressing
yes.
interest in them.
Yep.
having-
And we did move our event over to the fairgrounds, which has been a really good thing. It worked very smoothly. A lot of room for people to get in and out, and so just want to note that so nobody goes to the jail site. The next events that we have, they will be from this point forward over at the fairgrounds.
next one's what, April?
We haven't got the dates yet for next
Okay.
year, but it's
No dates
usually
yet.
in April. It's usually in April and then one in the fall. So we're waiting for the dates. So we'll get that out as soon as we know them.
Very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. All right. I'll entertain a motion that we approve an application for the 901B recycling grant.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second it. Motion properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next item, we are to consider Resolution 22-14, approving the local match to the Area Transportation Authority. And of course, this is our obligation along with the other counties. Is that something, Heather, that you took a look at? Or Lisa, that's your deputy solicitor position?
Our total match for July 1, 2023 through June 2024 will be $186,156.
And we did allow for that in the budget.
Yes.
Which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, so, all right, I'll ask for motion that we approve Resolution 2022-14, approving the local match to the Area Transportation Authority in the amount related to us by Lisa.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second that. Motion having been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item. We have before us for ratification a memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters and also the non-court related professional employees, of course, who are CYS employees. What that is back in February, essentially the Children Youth Service Workers did reach agreement with the county as far as the new contract for wages and benefits. However, as the year progressed and additional bargaining units reached agreements or the matter went for arbitration, we learned that the amounts that agreed to by CYS were not as great as were either awarded or agreed to by the other bargaining units. And out of just simple fairness and equity, we felt it was appropriate that we revisit that issue with that particular bargaining unit, and we were able to successfully renegotiate a new amended agreement that both increases the wage advances that they're to be receiving in the next several years and also incorporated a retention bonus to be able to achieve parity with the other bargaining units, I think. So that's what's before us. Dave, did you wish to comment or anything?
Yeah, I felt pretty strongly that we had to do something. I mean, they went first, and sometimes that's tough for both sides to be the first one when you've got 6 agreements to work through. And we wouldn't want to leave a situation where nobody wanted to go first because they thought they'd end up behind the curve when all the dust settled. So I think this is good for both sides. And frankly, we have had a problem attracting CYS caseworkers, so this is another way to try to help that. It's a very important function of county government, and if this helps us get close to fully staffed, then that's another plus.
Yeah, it's very tough and unsung way to make a living. I mean, these are folks protecting children and having to deal with all kinds of incredibly horrific situations sometimes.
And I would also point out that virtually every bit of this is 80% reimbursed.
Yes.
So while it has an effect on our budget, it doesn't have the effect of some of the other departments. So
Right. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I think both of us are familiar with that particular memorandum, so I will entertain a motion that we approve the memorandum of agreement that's before us today.
so moved.
Thank you. I'll second that. Motion having properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next, we have a purchase of service agreement with Michelle Manning, also doing business as Zoom Abstracting LLC, for our consideration. I assume this is the assessment office, Heather?
This is for the assessment office. We had contracted back in 2010 with Zoom Abstracting to provide title searches as needed for the director. This is simply just over 12 years. The cost of the same has increased, and so this reflects an updated price of $250 per search. That's a little more in line with the going rate for title searches. There, like I said, has not been an increase since 2010, so she did approach the tax office, and this PSA is to update to reflect those terms.
Okay, very good. I'll entertain a motion.
Also move.
Thank you. I'll second that. Motion and properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we are considering an application to encumber liquid fuel funds for CC70 Bloomington Avenue Bridge. And Lisa, this is so that we can take our liquid fuel funds and apply them to that particular
Correct.
bridge. Okay, as you can see, the county is doing an awful lot of bridge work because it's necessary. So, okay, well, I will entertain a motion that we apply to encumber the liquid fuel funds.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second that. Motion having properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have to consider the appointment of Mr. Alvin Rogers to the Clearfield Jefferson Airport Authority until December 31st, 2024. He would be filling out the term of an individual who had to move out of the area. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll also point out that Mr. Rogers was on the board on the Jefferson side and moved to Clearfield County. We had asked for other applicants, and he was the only applicant. And between that and the fact that he has experience with the airport authority, I think he'll make a good member for us.
Comes highly recommended. I didn't know that. Okay. Well, then I'll entertain a motion that we appoint Mr. Rogers to the airport authority until December 31st.
So moved.
2024. Thank you. I will second that. Motion properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, Lisa, are we not going to announce? Oh, I see. Okay, there we are. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. All right, next we have for our consideration an integrated municipal solid waste services agreement with Clinton County. Again, Jody, I was going to call on you, or Heather.
Well, it's just briefly, as you know, Director Brennan obviously worked hard with the Solid Waste Authority for our new 10-year plan. And as part of that, we have two formal agreements that we have to execute with the two municipalities and landfills that we've worked with. So this one is the Wayne Township that goes through Clinton County. So they have approved that agreement. It's in their hands being signed right now. So we are just asking for approval from the commissioners for that agreement. And then I would anticipate actually at our next meeting, the Noble Environmental one to be there. We just had a minor change in that, and I think we're moving ahead, and those will be ready to go.
Very good. And Wayne Township has previously served as a...
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. So, all right. I will entertain a motion that we approve the integrated municipal solid waste services agreement with Clinton County.
So moved.
Thank you. I will second that. Motion having properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have a lease addendum with Mr. Harry Salvatore for 6403 Clearfield Woodland Highway, where the Conservation District is located.
Yes, this is for our conservation district. We've leased with him since, I believe, 2015. Our lease was set to expire on November 30th. I was able to work with Mr. Salvatore for an additional lease to extend our original. The new monthly price will be $2,777.74. That is locked in for 5 years. There is, though, a 6-month termination should this change.
Okay.
I have to change that.
I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. I'll second it. Motion having been properly moved and seconded, all those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, what I jumped ahead of, we do want to announce that we have openings on various boards and authorities that the Clearfield County Commissioners make appointment to. Certainly, I would ask, or we would ask, excuse me, that folks, if you're interested, please consider serving on these boards. Their functions are very important to the proper functioning of Clearfield County government. We probably don't thank folks enough for their service, but it can be very interesting work, and I said again, it can be very helpful to your friends and neighbors. So, Lisa,
If I may.
yes, indeed.
Do you think, and we haven't actually talked about this, our next meeting's the 13th. I think we want to make these appointments as much as we can at that. Should we make the 9th as the cutoff to apply?
Yes, that would be fine.
Okay, so, yes, please, for all these, if anybody's interested, send us an email or a regular mail request by December 9th, and we will act on the 13th with anything we have.
Yeah, and again, let her email, that would be fine. Okay, and Lisa, if I'm correct, it's just the ones in red, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We have we actually have 6 vacancies on our Community Connections Board. That is the Citizens Advisory Board to our jointure with Jefferson County for the provision of mental health services in Clearfield County. Dave, you jump in case I miss one. We have, on our Planning Commission, we have one vacant 4-year term. Oh, I'm sorry, we have one vacant 4-year term coming up for 2023 to 2026. Planning is also very important. They work in conjunction with Jody Brennan, our planning office, as far as land use management. Solid Waste Authority, we have 2 vacant 5-year terms from 2023 to 2027, and I think we all agree how important solid waste management is for Clearfield County. And finally, the Curwensville Lake Board will have 2 vacancies, one for a 1-year term, another one for a 3-year term. And again, the Curwensville Lake is very important for travel and tourism and recreation here in Clearfield County. So again, we would certainly appreciate anyone's interest in the same. Is there anything I missed that you see?
No, I
Okay.
think that covers it.
Okay.
But I guess I really want to point out that community connection. It's only a once a quarter board, but I mean, we basically don't have any representatives from Clearfield. We have one. We have seven seats, and we have 1 filled. So it's not a huge time commitment. It's really important.
Yeah.
You know, if we'd really like to see some people step up there.
Yeah, particularly folks that are employed in healthcare field or mental health.
Yes.
Because they would have the knowledge.
And it's a way to help try to move the county forward with our mental health issues. So
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. All right, last item I have under new business is presentation of the 2023 budget for publication and display. We have been working very hard on the budget. The budget for the year coming will amount to $40,429,399.50. We will obviously make a copy of it for display available here, and we will be transmitting copies to all our various departments.
And it's going to be posted on the website.
On the website, absolutely. It's a good budget. I want to thank and express appreciation to Controller Rob Edwards, and of course our Chief Clerk Lisa McFadden, my fellow Commissioner Dave Glass, for all the hard work they put into it. The budgetary process, of course, is an ongoing one. Once it's presented, it sits for 20 days for comment and input. We will continue to work on it. We will continue to tweak that same budget. But I think it provides well for 2023. And takes into account some increased expenses we anticipate for the year. And hopefully we have provided sufficiently to meet the obligations caused by the same, so.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. Well, first of all, I really, really want to point out the work that Controller Edwards did here. You know, in the past, last year, basically Lisa and I kind of were going it alone with this, with a little bit of help from an outside vendor, but that was a very challenging process. And Rob has stepped in and really kind of taken ownership of this. And I think we gave it a great team effort here. And I can't say enough about the work he did. It really made things much smoother this year, and I think this was his first year. I think going forward, it's just going to be that much. Now that he's seen it, we've gone through it. I think it's never an easy process, but I think it'll be a smoother process.
Right.
And yeah,
And I think, and not to interrupt, but I also, it'll, now that this, the group's gone through it, I don't believe we'll need the services of the outside agency that we've had before.
probably not. And we want to thank
Thank them for their help.
Ed for his help, but yeah, I think we can definitely keep it internal now. I want to thank Lisa. She's always a huge help to this. A couple things I want to point out before we vote on it. Some of the changes we made in the contracts aren't necessarily going to bear fruit right away, and I'm thinking about the health insurance, because we get billed on health insurance for prior, okay? So they look at our claims and they make a rate based on that. The changes we made with the spousal exclusion, I fully expect will reduce our claims in 2023, but I don't know how much. So we had to budget based on where we were. I fully expect the 24 budget to show some savings in healthcare. It's impossible to predict, but that's kind of a, you know, we get the changes to their salaries and wages right away. That's more of a delayed change. The other thing, and I think Rob and I have the same viewpoint on this, budgets are a worst case scenario. You know, when I worked on the school board, we always would present it as, if everything possibly goes wrong, this is the worst case. And that was what we did last year, and that's what this budget represents too. I think in a lot of areas we won't end up spending as much, but we always build in a little bit of a cushion in case things change in certain areas. So I don't know, Rob, if you have anything you want to add, but
You were the leader of the group, and it was
Yeah.
much
You were,
appreciated.
like the old song from the 60s, you were the leader of the pack. And
My view on a budget is it's compare throughout the year, and at the end of the year, how you think what's the plan, and then your investments.
that's right.
It'll be interesting, next year, to go through it, second things.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I want to say, again, the group was very cognizant, and the commissioners were very cognizant of no tax increase for next year. This budget does not, there's no tax increase coming for 2023. So we do understand, with the rate of inflation being what it is, the cost of living being what it is, that this was not the time to ask the taxpayers of Clearfield County to dig any further or deeper into their pockets. We do understand that. So we do, at least I feel it's a good budget for the coming year. I think it will meet our needs. I agree. I think there's a lot of we're just going to have to see, you know, how things transpire in the new year, but there should be some savings realized, and hopefully it'll put the county in a good financial position for the new year. So, okay, and again, thank you for everyone who was involved. I am ready to take a vote if everyone else is. I'll entertain a motion that we present the 2023 budget for publication and display.
So moved.
Thank you. I will second that. Motion having been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor so signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, solicitors report. Heather.
Very briefly, the prothonotary lawsuit was set to be heard on oral arguments by the court, and that has been changed, that they are going to make a decision based on briefs. So our counsel advised they believe that's a a good thing. So we're anticipating that decision over the next few months. But there will not be an oral argument as originally planned. Again, that's just going off of briefs. And then just to make you aware, it's no surprise we've received several additional election lawsuits that are coming in. They are in their infancy at this point. I would just reiterate that the county, we will follow any orders from the court that come in. We will participate as needed, and we have done our due diligence in preserving and making sure everything is in line for what we would need to respond to any of those lawsuits. So
We did all the separations required.
Yep, so if anyone hears anything, no panics. We've followed anything, and over the next several months, as those play out, if anything needs to be done, we will certainly do that. And I'll keep you apprised as those come in. But like I said, a lot of those were just immediately after the election started.
And if I'm, just to give some context, most of these, and I don't know all the lawsuits, but most of them in our county would revolve around a very, very small number of ballots, which would not change any outcomes in any way. I mean, we're talking a handful in most cases. So it's not like there's any chance anything's going to change in terms of the outcomes from this.
Heather, was anything new, I guess?
No, it's the same undated issues, the segregation of the ballots. It's
Right.
basically the same, but rephrasing of how they're approaching them in different courts. Obviously, some have gone through once before our PA Supreme Court, some have gone to the federal court. So it's just also then the difference, but all that same issue, essentially. So.
Well, I'll say it. I hope our legislature stops the infighting and actually addresses this next year. We need the pre-canvassing so we can open those ballots, and because that's why some counties are so late getting it in, is because they're not even allowed to touch the envelopes until 7 o'clock Tuesday morning. Let us open them and prep them for scanning. That's been an issue that CCAP's brought up for years. Do that, address the dates once and for all, and then we can just move on. This shouldn't be fought through the courts like it is.
What the world would be like without lawyers. Anyway, anything else?
Nothing else for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything for the good of the order. All right, there being none, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.